Banger. Who's going to be our ECS undisputed champion? Next 12 rounds will decide. I want to know, though, from chat, who do you guys think it's going to be? Let us know over in chat there. And, of course, also, if you're watching this thing and you're wondering how you can get involved, maybe you love playing some Undisputed and you think you've got what it takes. You think you've got the mettle, the skill to be able to step into the ring with some of the best in the world. Make sure you're jumping over onto the Discord, which is some place that you can get involved, not only when it comes to the competitive side, but spreading the word. But EthleteCS.com as well is our website. If you jump in today, we're giving a random giveaway today, an Amazon gift card, and it's for the people who join today only. Also in that Discord, you help us get involved, picking out that fight of the night. Is it going to be our grand final, able to pass up either of our two nominees thus far?
I mean, to be fair, Gangstology has already been in 2 Fight of the Night nominations. Why not be in a third? But realistically, it is the finals. Bigger weight on the shoulders, and we do gotta kind of talk about the setup going in towards this matchup. Hugsdealer is the #1 overall seed. We were talking about this all day long. Very proficient with different weight classes. And it looks like, again, Q, we may be going to women's welterweight.
We are indeed going to the women's welterweight here, going to really put on a clinic when it comes to the fighting aspect, not just coming out and trying to bomb away with the big bruisers or the heavyweights or anything like that, although we have gotten to see some of that here today. That is the women's division. We're going to run it back, and this time it's going to be in order to declare ourselves an ECS undisputed champion.
It's the belt on the line, and I gotta say, Gangstology has been here before. USA versus UK. The man who fell just an inch short last time, looking to finish it off. If you guys and your friends aren't already watching the stream, you better share it around. This is not a matchup you are going to want to miss. You're going to be kicking yourself if you do. But Q, the gloves are getting ready to buff. The 1 seed, the 3 seed, the battle through the regular season comes to this point right here.
We are going to be seeing a 12-round goal line here this time around. If it does go the distance, we're at least guaranteed 2 more before we get the 6 more. The gloves have been touched. And what's going to be interesting is this time around, Gangstology taking the Katie Taylor pick. And that's going to be Clarissa Shields out for Hugs.
Going to be a much closer overall stat line, and of course, as you mentioned, it's 12 rounds. It could possibly be a knockout, but we actually saw Hugsdealer at the late part of that last fight as well go flat-footed. So we'll see if they do invest that stamina here in the early rounds to get some damage in. Of course, it will be probably about that scorecard just as much. We know these fighters have the ability to knock out, but it does feel like, Q, that they're so evenly matched, it could go to that scorecard.
Definitely feels like the scorecard, I'm not going to lie, is inevitable here. The question becomes, does either one of these fighters have what it takes to push the envelope just a little bit more, make the opposition uncomfortable enough to be able to open this fight up? You can see Hugs has been doing a good job of really keeping the distance for now, trying to really allow for Gangstology to step up into that kill zone.
Stepping up. Trying to get in towards the pressure pockets here for Hugsdealer. He's just dipping and dodging, looking for some fancy movement to maybe throw off Gangsta early. Gangsta, I've also noticed, really good at recognizing the patterns. If you keep throwing the same thing against him, if you keep trying to go for the same move, is going to make sure the punish is in. And of course, for both of these two, money guaranteed, like we said, but the pride, the earned honor is on the line.
That little bit of ability to walk around the scene with your chest puffed out and your head held high as one of 2 undisputed champions. But obviously give yourself that extra little bit of bragging rights here as well. And we are seeing Shields doing a good job here, landing some big shots, some big head damage over on the side of Gangstology.
What you want to see here early, especially like we talk about in a 12-round bout, that damage can build up to be a lot. But nonetheless, Hugsdealer able to get some good damage in and probably able to win this first round. But as we said, it's not just about the one round. It felt like Gangstology was getting into a little bit of a groove here. Let's see if they can do it in round number 2.
See what can go down with round number 2. See if he can keep any sort of momentum, or see if he can pump the brakes just a little bit on the oppositions as well. And of course, the little bit longer a fight does mean you do have a little bit more time to try and dissect the opposition and try and draw up a game plan to be able to counter their attack. But I feel like as far as on the side of Hugsdealer, they're just going to continue to poke and prod away. They're being very passive in the sense of making sure that the opening comes from Gangstology, trying to almost allow them to force the envelope.
Trying to force the envelope a little bit. I do got to say at the same time, always keeping that block up is a little bit dangerous. If Gangstology does get aggressive and starts to burn down some of that stamina bar, you can be trapped in an awkward scenario. Of course, saying that about Hugsdealer, again, has yet to face a loss this entire season. 16-0 throughout the regular season and playoffs combined.
If you are joining, or if you are watching, make sure you're joining the Discord as you see down there at the bottom of the screen. Get involved. We're starting to build something special over here with the ECS. You can do your part as well. Jump on down in there and be a part of something special. But round number 2 here, going to be getting relatively close to the end. Some nice punches coming across from Gangstology, but unable to follow it up with anything big.
That was massive, though. No flashes of brilliance is all it does take here. And again, we're only in round number 2. A little bit of that good back and forth. Tries to go for the overhead there, it looked like, for Hugsdealer. That little dodge down from Gangstology, almost punished. 30 seconds left to go. Block damage is in. Gangstology has to be a little bit careful about making sure they drop that guard. They're able to reset that. At the same time, a little bit more back and forth here in the second round.
Back and forth as the pendulum swings. I mean, we expected this thing to be a nice close fight. Thus far, Gangstology stepping up to the plate in this females division that we know that Hugs is comfortable in. We saw him being able to do a good job in that first fight here, and Gangstology stepping up to the challenge here thus far in our grand finals. Feels like this thing has to be close to a tie.
Let's go.
That's what it feels like to me, and especially if Gangstology was able to win that previous round. It felt like, again, Hugsdealer did win the first, but talk about some damage here in the third. I was going to say, it seems pretty even because they only won that first round by probably 1 point. The head damage, the right swell already building up there for Gangstology. Again, Hugsdealer has been playing their spacing really, really well. Every single time you want to go in, you also have to be careful on the slips, the dodges, everything. Those can be punished too if time.
They've done a good job of being able to. They've done a good job meeting with the pressure, right, Llama? I mean, you've seen multiple times when Gangstology tries to step into the range where they're able to land dodge. Hugs is literally just stepping, like, I mean, centimeters outside and just kind of waiting for any sort of opportunity for the hands to drop on the side of Gangstology. And for them, it's almost been clinical for Hugs. It doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to be efficient.
Just got to be efficient, and efficiency very important, like we said, over the course of a little bit longer fight than you have been in today. Now, I got to say, saying that for Gangstology, both their fights have gone 16 rounds anyways, even if it is that extra 6 not included in the first set. But Hugsdealer putting the pressure in right now, 60 left to go, and being that #1 seed had that advantage of knowing the different weight classes, but some good aggression here to follow from Gangstology that is punished on a counterattack.
Loving to see the punches coming across here and still seeing some fight from both of our competitors. And feels like Gangstology understanding the situation that you got to make sure that you got the gloves up. You don't want big, powerful shots coming across from shields that could open up some big combos. Trying to use the speed to their advantage, the footwork to try and find the openings. But I mean, honestly, right now, the approach from Hugs has been almost airtight.
Yes. Yeah, just going for the step back touches time and time again. Really does feel good. But it is going to be this round number 3 over, which will give the fighters a little bit more time. We go back to the start of the round here, and Hugsdealer, even with the guard, just able to put up some really good damage. And it's kind of that roller coaster like we always said. Hugsdealer always finds a way in the rounds, even at the beginning or at the end. I'm excited to see the scorecard, though.
Yeah, I'd be excited to see how things play out. You figure it's got to be close. I'm not even sure if I know which way to call this thing. I feel like Hugs has been a little bit more concise with their approach. But Gangstology definitely has shown they're right there, and a little bit different to the sense of last time, or last couple of times, all the times that we've seen the scorecard so far today, at least for the first time in a fight. We've only got 7 rounds left. You keep mentioning the length of this fight. And for somebody like Gangstology, as long as they can keep themselves within striking distance, they're always right there.
Keep just talking about the length of his fight. It's Gangstology up 1, but yeah, he's had to play two extra round bouts here already today. And honestly, Q, I know we could be getting an exciting extra one. We already talked about going for 2 extra.
Don't do it to me.
Why not 18 rounds?
My heart can't take it, bro. We've already had 2 go the extra distance. If we were to see it for a grand final, we might need to call in the replay. No, I'm just kidding. But it would be fun to see. I mean, this has been a nice, tightly fought contest thus far. And here, even through the first minute and round number 4, again, it's really more just the leading with the left hand from both of these fighters, really waiting to try and see where the opposition to unload a nice strong right might be able to come in.
Oh, we're pausing, we're dancing, and I like to see both kind of taking that moment to relax and memeing once again. But at the same time, you talk about only being decided by 1 point right now. It really does feel like things are open back up. You have 9 more rounds, including this one, which has already been cut down pretty much in half. You have so much time. You have so much ability to try and build up those combos. With 60 seconds left to go, I want to see a flurry. No more memeing.
Yeah, no more memeing. No more half-stepping. It's time to put your best foot forward, especially because after this round, we are officially a third of the way through our grand final here. It's time to really start. It's time to put up or shut up here, you might even say.
Let's guess out in the chat as well. I know we put our predictions in, but you guys out there, you better be guessing. Send it in the Discord and see who you've got to be the second official Athlete Championship undisputed champion in their own right. Round number 4, though, we talked about that, only decided by 1. It's coming even closer and closer as both played this round very passive.
Yeah, they both, it's really like the patient style of boxing where you're not really trying to force the issue. You're just waiting for the other boxer to make the mistake, which sounds good in theory. The only problem is both of these 2 fighters come with a plethora of experience. I don't see either of them making any mistakes, at least not this late in the evening.
I don't see it either. But also, when you think of Gangstology, you think of like a volcano, dormant but ready to blow, ready to explode with one of those amazing combos. And you take these first 4 rounds, you take them close, but at the same time, it's an opportunity to try and close things out. Again, Q, you got to remind yourself, not too much pressure, Gangstology. You got the entire weight of the United States on your back.
US versus UK, they're the ones feeling it here for sure. And you got the whole nation on your side, whether you're Gangstology or whether you're Hugs. You've got some pride to be able to fight for here. And in round number 5, similar to round number 4, just kind of a nice light field. Neither fighter really throwing a flurry, trying to wait and see when that jab might open something up.
Trying to both just pelter with the jab. At the same time, it does mean that in these rounds, there are less hits connecting overall. It feels like the first one to connect on a combo is going to be able to win the round, which is really dangerous with already how we talked about how close this fight is between the 2. It could just be 1. Nice little connection there from Hugsdealer right at the end. But again, the head damage just built on back up, both reserving their stamina. That's another big thing. We talked about how Hugsdealer did go flat-footed even in their victory because they were going all out. You cannot be caught flat-footed, especially if you're on round 10 and you have more rounds to go.
Yeah, I think that might even be part of the reason that we have seen Hugs being a little bit more passive here, especially after what seems like putting themselves in at least a little bit of control in this fight here, right? And has been back more to kind of more the in and out, waiting for the 1-2 sort of strikes, but never really gassing themselves too awfully much. We're going to see our final couple of seconds here in round number 5. The ladies sent to their corners here, and 1 more round puts us halfway there.
I mean, another round to halfway, but it feels like both of these fighters are just halfway. Like they're not putting 100% in. They both don't want to go forward, don't want to make that mistake like you're talking about. But also, Q, if you're talking about if it's only a 1-point decided between the two, if you get a knockdown, you could have a massive advantage going into the back half.
Yeah, I definitely wonder when becomes that point that you want to outweigh the little bit of assuredness of a comfortable round of playing with no mistakes versus the benefit of being able to force the other one down to the mat. We're seeing Gangstology trying to at least slowly chip away, but hasn't really been able to get much, solely trying to work their way away at not just the body, but the face as well. I feel like, though, Hugs continuing to show a really good ring presence that has allowed them to keep their distance.
Extra distance built on up, but it's still a long fight. Of course, after this 6th round, you mentioned not only are we halfway, we'll get to take a little bit of a look at those scorecards. I'm excited to see, because if it is still within one, talk about any of these last 6 rounds, they could be the ones to change things up. Hugsdealer actually getting a little bit more head damage overall in this round. Gangstology, no slouch as well. Again, it's just been so even.
Really has been super even here through almost the first full 6 rounds. One more minute left to fight here, and I mean, neither fighter really wanting to concede an edge. Gangstology doing a good job of continuing to close the gap, but even when they do close the gap, still not being the one to force the issue, waiting for, as far as over the side from Hugs, to maybe drop the hands just for a moment, but Hugs being so deliberate in their attack.
I mean, Hugs is mostly just playing defense, just looking for the counters, saving the stamina, waiting to put the pressure on in. At the same time, it's hard for Gangstology to approach just because that face is always blocked. But if you are Gangstology and if you hit a big combination, you're going to possibly catch Hugs with no stamina with one of those early body shots. But the bell will ring again. It's just these counter flurries, though, that we're seeing from Hugs that are all that are really connecting. And in rounds where very, very few hits are connecting overall, that is what can get you a singular point. They've got this full minute of recovery queue, and then they'll be able to see, and us will also be able to see that scorecard.
Yeah, of course they do also get that little bit of additional time here to sit there and think to themselves, what do I got to do to be able to win this back half of this fight? Because you have to imagine that when the scorecard does show, it's going to be relatively close. And I do feel, though, on the side of Gangstology, they also have to be expecting a little bit of a deficit from Hugs.
You definitely do. It does feel like at the exact same time that got to go forward for Gangstology. Got to get yourself on in, and we'll have to see if it does go. It looks like possibly a disconnect actually flying on in. So it is technically the winner here for Hugs. But at the same time, I believe the rules state as long as it's not before that round number 8, I believe we will replay it. We'll get a double check on that. We'll come back to us and make sure we can get that lobby figured out. Because again, we don't want to have, if it is just an issue, we know there's the separate ranges. We know there's, the separate regions here. So want to make sure our grand final is the best as possible. And we are back. Still here for the finals, and it looks like we got both of our fighters ready to go. We got to start back at round number 1. Q, we get even more fighting action.
We get more of it. We had 2 overtime fights, and now with the disconnect here, or we get to run things back once more. This is why we have things in place, right? You don't want an unfortunate server issue to cause the results of a fight. So here we are, second rendition of this thing. Fighters still going to be out with the same selections. And you got to say, I at least am happy with the fact that it's not like that last fight was too much in one direction or the other, right? It was pretty 50-50, so you don't feel so bad about the restart.
Don't feel too horrible. At the same time, we also do have the rules in place that if it goes over that 8th round, we go to the scorecard, we decide it even if there is that disconnect. So Hugsdealer couldn't quite get there, and of course for Gangstology does kind of get there. Their stamina bar back, they get their points reset back to 0, so a clean slate for both of them. I want to see if they can take those adaptations, learn how Hugs was playing on the defense, and find ways to break open and get some good punches in.
Gotta find some way to be able to break the walls down here and find some way to just simply put yourself into a nice little controlling position. Of course, restarting here early could potentially really prove which one of these two fighters has the stronger mental. Because again, that last fight that we saw, Llama, I don't think either of those fighters really felt like they had the advantage or disadvantage. So to feel like, oh man, I got to start back from scratch from, step number one, could be a cause for a little bit of frustration depending on how weak the mental game is.
Definitely could be. Do not want to try and drop the mental, especially at this stage. A lot of extra body damage and saved probably by the bell there right at the end of it. Take a look at this final flurry. Hugsdealer putting in the body work there. Uppercut connects towards it. I got to say as well, Q, you want to know something interesting? Gangstology has played 38 undisputed rounds. Add the 39th. If things go all 12, Gangstology will have played 50 rounds today.
That's a pretty outlandish number. I'm not going to lie to you, especially for just simply 3 fights as well. But you know what? You talk about for a fighter who was oh so close last time. I'm sure they're willing to go through the gauntlet if it means this time around they get to call themselves the undisputed champion. But for now, the back and forth in the middle of the ring. I thought for a second earlier on in that it was going to be an opening for Gangstology, but Hugs was able to bounce back. But nice couple of shots with the left hand, both to the upper and the lower body.
Other shots there, especially because it did look like Hugsdealer was able to take that first round away. Now here in this next one, it is all up to you. Good little combo as Gangstology tried to enter the pocket there, but I love the defense from Hugsdealer, even though, a little bit less exciting because they are just holding the hands up, waiting for those counters. It's a really smart strategy, especially against the speed we've talked about before of Katie Taylor.
Taylor definitely being quick, and we've seen a couple of times already within these first round and a couple minutes, the speed has been able to be used with the footwork, but you know what? Speed doesn't help when you continue to get punched in the gut, and that's going to be Katie Taylor down. The first knockdown that we have seen in both of our fights, or both renditions of this fight, I should say, that we've seen thus far. So you talk about coming out with a purpose here in the second time around, and Hugs has a point to prove.
To prove with 20 seconds in round number 2. Gangsta the first to fall in a round that, like we talked about, they were winning. It felt like they were up. That extra body damage does not feel good. It is connection after connection for Hugsdealer, not missing a single blow, and they definitely have taken that round. Let's look back. It was that killer front hook there from Hugsdealer that started that knockdown, and the fight already going so favored towards Hugsdealer.
Yeah, it feels like Hugs has really been able to come out here and assert themselves in the opening 2 rounds, and I would imagine we'll probably try and do the same here in round number 3. Nice little combo coming across here, and now it's going to be up for Gangstology to find some way to weather the storm, because you're going to have to slowly dig yourself out of this hole before it becomes too unsurmountable.
Going to have to try and find the shovel very, very quickly. And it's like we talked about, the nice little extra bit of speed you can have from Katie Taylor along with that second wind pop, because they did get knocked down, so I have a little bit extra damage boosted here for a little bit. At the same time, managed really well from, again, Hugsdealer, that killer left hook every single time Gangstology wants to enter in. It's denying that speed. It's denying any sort of opening, and it's really the biggest thing is denying the body shots. When you can't hit the body shots, it's just Hugsdealer just playing defense and then looking perfect.
I think the other thing, too, that you think about, because it's kind of that lighter left hook, too, it takes up some additional space. You can't just simply sidestep it and then try and come into the right like you could against a straight, right? And it's allowed them to slow down the attack from Gangstology in multitudes of ways here. So as for now, I mean, for Gangstology, I think you're still definitely in this fight, despite the fact that the scorecard probably going to show you down 3 points here at the end of round number 3, maybe even 4, depending on how that second round was scored. But you've shown that you can hang with Hugs, and it's a longer fight, so you just got to keep yourself in it through the first half.
Definitely have to try and keep going. You feel like this was the round, especially talking about that second win with extra bonus damage. You feel like you need to maybe get one of those knockdowns yourself, but it isn't going to be there. 10 seconds left to go. Hugsdealer still with just a ton of control. A little extra body shot, but the headshots raining in. The left swell, and it's going to actually be a battle back. Hugs is the one to fall.
Hugs falls just before the bell. Now, surely with this being the first knockdown, going to be able to get up off the knee, which they do, but that's still, especially when we talk about entering the break heading into the third round, that's a big scoring situation.
That was a huge, massive score, and we get to see it again here in the replay, what kind of happened. It was a go forward from Hugsdealer. Again, that left hook punished, and the learning that Gangstology has put towards this match already is pretty huge. Of course, we're getting into recovery mode Q, and get to see the scorecard after this round as well.
Get to see what things are sitting at here, and I talked about maybe a 3-point difference. I think maybe with the knockdown, maybe down to the 2. I don't see it being any closer than that, really. I really do feel like Hugs had done such a good job, especially through the first 2 rounds, really separating themselves. And despite that late round knockdown in round number 3, they should still be feeling comfortable here at the break.
Well, they'll take a second to breathe. They will take a second to compose themselves as they're possibly a fourth of the way through. This is the finals. This is the belt right here. And there you go. Lovely to see with that knockdown there in the previous round. Hugsdealer only up by 1. At the same time, though, Q, you're still up by 1. There's still a lead there. Gangstology needs to get going forward.
We always talk about that big scary word of momentum, though, with the fact that Gangstology was able to get the knockdown. Gotta make sure that you're able to stay upright and vertical here in round number 4.
Oh.
Things starting to look scary here, and it's Gangstology trying to close things down. More shots coming across, but not going to be able to find the match. However, it's a second hit, and it's down goes the side of Hugs.
Hugs had the reset, got out of the daze, but it's the reconnection. 8, 9. Oh, man. You talk about momentum being scary. These players trying to give us a heart attack, Q.
I mean, we talked about how big the momentum could be, especially for Gangstology, getting that late knockdown in round number 3. And you now have a whole half of a round here in round number 4. And for Gangstology, realizing how close they were during the inception and realizing that they've already got so much pressure in the grand finals here of the Evolution, I'm honestly kind of surprised at the passive approach that we're seeing from Gangstology since that last knockdown.
I just want to see that increased intensity, and I feel like it's there from both of them. You feel like things have started to heat up as well, where you look at the previous matchup where we did have that disconnect. The first 6 rounds were just relatively close. It was a lot of defense. It wasn't actually a lot of those knockdowns. So to see this kind of new flair is really exciting too.
Oh, it's like we've got fireworks going off here, and we're about ready for round number 4 to be finished. And I think Gangstology take that knockdown and decide to play patient and play more for the scorecard for the rest of round number 4. Didn't want to overextend, pretty well just hands up, making sure that nothing comes easy.
Nothing does come easy here in the undisputed ring, but let's take a look at that replay because I think it'll show both. It is actually the end where Hugs was able, you see that connection. The right hook pops on in, but it's the recollection from Gangstology holding their patience, knowing that even though you're out of the daze queue, you still got that damage.
Definitely helps as far as to be able to capitalize on the damage here. So let's get ready for round number 5, Llama. Let's head back on in. It feels like for Hugs, you would like to be able to regather the control of the reins. You got to make sure that you can continue to play the distance game, but you got to find some way to be able to land some big combos. Maybe get yourself a daze and try and get yourself a knockdown.
It's very true, but also Rome wasn't built in a day. You got lots of rounds. You got opportunities to keep on building up that damage. That's what it's all about. Breaking down your opposing structure on the other side from your opponent, and then playing some good defense to make sure you have the ability to not get dazed, because it does feel like with that knockdown completely even between these two, Gangstology might even be able to take the lead with that one. Of course, after our next round, we'll be able to double check in on that scorecard. For Hugsdealer, again, that undefeated, flawless record, not wanting it to end. But again, we always talk about Gangstology's path to get here started 0-2 in the regular season, and now is here in the grand finals.
Here in the grand finals for a second time with ECS here in just as many events. So, I mean, somebody who's been here, not their first rodeo, and understands just how important each one of these rounds can be. And you kind of see with the way that they're playing here right now, Gangstology just being patient, poking and prodding, got the big knockdown in the last 2 rounds and hasn't been in a big rush to find one here in round number 5. I think instead just simply trying to win a nice 10-9 round, but Hugs has been landing some decent shots here to end things off.
That's pretty good back and forth, and that's always what we love to see. I think Hugs, like we said, the experience of them to be able to strike at any point, the experience to not only be undefeated so far, but today in these different weight class divisions, kind of bringing it towards their opponents. And with possibly Gangstology didn't have that much practice, but we'll get to see that final flurry once again, as it was that little bit of back and forth. Now replay is done. We are in to round number 6. After this one, Q, that scorecard will be upon us.
Our players didn't even give us time for the replay there, man. They were like, let's get back down to it. Let's get ready for the 6th round. I think both of these players rather eager to reach that halfway point again. That way they could take a look at the scorecard this time around and make some adjustments. Again, it felt like maybe in rounds 4 and 5 went, or sorry, 3 and 4 went in the favor of Gangstology. Not exactly sure how I'd call that last 5th round. I think momentum still going to be on the side of Katie Taylor. And we can still see yet again in round number 6 here, playing rather cautious.
A little bit forward, though. It does feel like for Hugsdealer has to watch out for that extra damage. And there it is, the fly-in, the daze, and down you go. Gangstology, the knockdown king.
Has yet another knockdown here in round number 6. Hugs going to be able to get up onto the feet pretty quickly here. When we look at the time, it's still going to be left here 1 minute and 15 seconds. If Gangstology moves with a good pace, especially since we've seen a couple of knockdowns, 3 in the last 4 rounds here, might even be able to find yourself a 4th, 2 in this round. That would really turn the tides.
That'd be massive. And you talk about it as well. We had that disconnection at the end of 6 in the last matchup between the two. After we get to round 8, it doesn't matter. The scorecard will be the decider if there is not that knockout. 30 seconds left to go until we get that little bit of break for the 2 and that scorecard as well. Gangstology really good control and actually turtling up a little bit more, but popping the head out at the perfect points. And that is a snapping turtle. Gangstology has got some bite.
Got some bite to him for sure, and that's to go with a little bit of bark that we've also know that they love to kind of throw out there. And they can't help but imagine that there's probably been some back and forth, because we know Hugs likes to trash talk as well, try and see if they can get to the minds of the opposition. But what definitely helps get into the mind of the opposition is putting them on their behinds. And Gangstology been able to do that through the last couple of rounds.
Got to get that movement going forward. And I got to say right there at the end, you see in the replay just Gangstology working well with the kit. Even if this might be a weight class they don't have the most experience in, you talk about being able to have that increased slip speed moving in to especially get that knockdown. For Hugsdealer, it is going to be these back 6 rounds. Where is the response? You look at all the previous matches, Hugs not only won cleanly both of their matches, but also was winning almost every single round. So a little bit concerning to see them dropping some points here early.
6 seconds left here, Llama. And we're going to take ourselves a peek at the card. See how these two fighters are sitting now that we're halfway through. And Gangstology going to have a 2-point lead, and kind of in a similar fashion to how we had talked about. It's because of the wins in rounds 3, 4, and 6 to put them out.
It's been the good rounds for them, and it's been especially off of combinations and knockdowns. That's where Gangstology has found their marker, where for Hugsdealer, it really was that only one round that they had the knockdown. It feels like you have to be a little bit careful. Like we said, we are 12 rounds long here in this matchup rather than the 10. So you got to be careful about that stamina and the damage. You talk about those later rounds. That's often when we see the KOs, just because you've already been taking so much hurt throughout the fight.
Speaking of the hurt, Gangstology continuing to chase after it, whether it's working the body or being able to go for those shots up top and looking for every opportunity that Hugs tends to give them. And I feel like this time around, Hugs playing a little bit more loose, and I'm not sure if that was the type of confidence they needed to come into his fight, because they weren't giving any opportunity to Gangstology in that first rendition of this, which didn't really give them the opportunity to get the knockdowns, which have put them into this lead.
That's very true. Yeah, Hugsdealer was a lot more controlling, but not this time. Already down. Wow. Dazed and immediately dropped up to one knee. Let's see if they can do it here. This could be critical. This could be the KO. 8. And they're up. My heart, Q. My heart.
Well, we get to continue things going, and with just 20 seconds left on the clock, we should be able to see this thing extended to an 8th round, barring some miracle right hand, big old overhand that comes across from Gangstology. But instead, the gloves going to stay right up in front of the face and make sure that this 7th round is also secured by them. The fighters now going to get sent back to their corners, and we'll rewatch this one more time. It opens up here as far as with the left to the face, a second one across as well, and then a shot to the body to send him down.
That was only one shot, though, to the body. Have got to wonder, how is Hugsdealer's health bar looking? Because if you're getting dazed and knocked this quickly, this is, I believe, the 3rd or 4th time you've actually been knocked down this fight. Those bars are going to start getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and Gangstology might have the opener. It's also important to note, like we've said before, Q, in the rules, once you get past round 8, it is scorecard if there is a disconnect.
Yeah, so if you're in a disconnect, now's the time to do it. No, I'm just kidding. But we do have 2 minutes and 20 seconds here until that point comes. And as for now, Gangstology does have control of the scorecard. The other thing to keep in mind is with round number 8 coming to a conclusion here in 2 minutes, if this 8th round also finishes in favor of Gangstology, then the pressure really going to be felt over on the side of Hugs, and they're going to have to start moving with a sense of urgency.
The urgency might have to be there, but I do like these jabs, the combining with the hook, the good damage already done to Gangstology, having to play a little bit cautious, but has a lot of body damage to work with. And those battle backs here, Hugsdealer taking a lot of threat towards the face when they go all in. All of a sudden, Gangstology, the moment of weakness has passed. They are here to fight, and they are striking with that left forward, man. Hugsdealer, no way to fight it and having to go in. You mentioned that ability, and there's the daze. This could be the fight right here. Gangstology looking for it all. The body shot will put him down.
Last time they went down, they got up at the count of 8. Can they find themselves back to their feet? That is going to be the question this time at the count of 6. And there's plenty of fight in that dog right there. But it is going to be, 12 seconds left on the clock. And we will be seeing the end of round number 8. And after another round with a knockdown, let's make it 2 here as Gangstology able to put Hugs down onto the mat. Will they say night-night? That's the question.
Getting back up halfway there. 5 seconds left to go. And good on the sticks to be able to get themselves back up, but that has to be like a 7-10 round. I gotta feel like that's a 3-point advantage. Let's see the replay again right near the end. Gangsta goes on a tear. These left hooks and left jabs are causing Hugsdealer so much problem, and that body damage built up over time. I think now 2 or 3 times, Q, we've seen a singular shot to the body take down Hugsdealer.
It's going to get tough the longer this fight goes on as well, with the body damage that has come across from the side of Gangstology. The stamina starting to fall. The health starting to dwindle as well over on the side of Hugs here. One more round now, Llama, and we'll get to see the scorecard for the 3rd and final time that we'll get to see it, where our fighters will be able to make the adjustment. That's the replay on that last big down that was able to get caused by Gangstology. And you feel like if Gangstology finds the next one, it just might be curtains.
It might just be. I will say, Gangstology has been dropped a few times here in the fight, so does have to still be careful. Those flash KOs, the flash knockdowns are not a fun way to deal with here, but for Hugsdealer, you're definitely behind in points. After this 9th round, we'll see how many points exactly. And you see Gangstology, you look at the stamina bar, it's still around half. It's not towards that flat-footed percentage just yet. once you get to that point, it does get a little bit tough. So I love the stamina management, and you're in the lead in overall points.
In a pretty comfortable lead, we can only help but imagine. Of course, we've got 2 minutes and 10 seconds left till we find out officially here. But for decided, Gangstology still standing right in the middle of the ring, waiting for something to happen from the side of Hugs. I think understanding that they do have the benefit of the scorecard. A nice another left hook towards the face, working the body here, as well as Gangstology. A left hook, working the body as well, and down goes Shields. Hugs on the mat once more.
Could this be it? We have seen time and time again the get up there, but not even, it looks like, up to full feet. Up to an 8 count again. But the gloves are back up, and somehow, some way, I love the resilience. I love the ability to get back up from Hugsdealer. But Q, I mean, this has got to be a slaughter in points in the last couple rounds.
Yeah, it feels like what was a relatively close point differential, the last time we saw it, has to have been busted wide open here. Wouldn't be, I mean, maybe even a 5-6 point difference here at this point. Now for the side of Hugs, they are going to have to move with a sense of urgency in the final 3 rounds. Of course, we do still have 15 seconds here left in our 9th round. And of course, we will be seeing the scorecard know exactly where we're sitting. But I'm guessing it ain't pretty.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to need some stitches at the end of it. Go back on through. We'll see the recovery here from both of them. And honestly, Gangstology knowing when to put the pressure on. These left hooks, there's nothing that Hugsdealer can even do. I mean, it's been the same thing that has taken them down so many times. How many times have we said it, Q? It's a left hook into a body shot. And look at that lead. 9! I was correct, by the way. It was a 10-7.
Yeah, 9-point difference here, which means now you've got to put the pedal down here if you're Hugs. And unfortunately, you don't have much, I'm sure, over on the side of your stamina. You've got plenty of damage felt across the way, not just in the head, but you mentioned a couple of times we've seen singular body shots that have put Hugs down onto the mat. But 2 minutes left here in round number 10. They got to start moving.
It's double digits. And this is, like we said, this is where things do start to get a little bit dangerous. Nobody flat-footed just yet, but the damage does build up over the entirety of this fight. Hugsdealer is probably going to need a knockout, or you need 3 rounds where you win by 3 points each, and that only ties you up. So for Gangstology, really good battle back, the adaptation so far, and playing a lot more defensive, not giving Hugsdealer those big combo opportunities.
And it's been a pretty nice display here, honestly. Gangstology just putting on an absolute clinic on what it takes, and against a fighter, Hugs, who's quite possibly in their favorite division right here as well. Kind of crazy to think about. Has been able to come in, pick the fighter that got Hugs here, and then is going to use that same fighter to send Hugs home with half the money as it's moved on over into their half.
I mean, you talk about not only the money, you talk about the path for Gangstology to get here. If it is a victory, I mean, think about just how hard they worked throughout both of the seasons to even get back towards this point. It's a little bit more deep at the end, and Gangstology going to end it out with a body shot here in round number 10. 2 more rounds to go. We'll see that late body shot. Looks like an uppercut there at the end of it, but man, Gangstology has had Hugs' number.
Gangstology has came out here and was able to make the adjustments. Again, I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't get to see the scores in that first rendition, round number 6, because I feel like Hugs had a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah.
But then Gangstology, able to take the adjustment, moves into this, and has just slowly been able to get the control round after round after round. And now with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left, and your second to last one here, Hugs has to find a way to put you down for 10.
Has to find a way. Is going to get some head damage at least here in round number 11, but only 5 minutes left to go to try and get your work going. And you talk about a Gangstology, not even flat-footed, has just been managing the stamina. Both players shot for shot towards the head area. And that's what makes it a little bit dangerous as we get this late. It does feel like Hugsdealer has the experience to go for those just straight up take you out of the fight type plays. Gangstology, I feel like, just knows their limits so well from the get-go, from when they've been getting knocked down. You have that second win that even if Hugsdealer is able to get one, you really need to get 2 knockdowns. And when you knock down Katie Taylor once, you give her bonus stats.
Oh, and now a chance, though. A nice opening shot for Katie Taylor to try and put Hugs down, and down they go. The question is, will they stay down for 10?
Count is up. The blood is on the floor, but will the belt be given? 9 and the K. Oh, you can hear the chants. The United States on the back of Gangstology. The 3 seed, denied in event number 1, will be victorious here today.
Being able to come on out here and take the KO in the 11th round. It's Gangstology after falling just a couple of points shy in our first round of our ECS in the inception, able to come out here during the evolution and really put on a performance, not just through one fight or the second fight, but it has been 48 rounds, and they are now your champion, your undisputed champion.